I'm a 21-year-old college student, and my school is located across the country from the place I call home. Because of the distance, I only return during Christmas and summer breaks, which makes those times even more precious. This past summer was particularly special. It was my first as a 21-year-old, and for the first time, I got to experience the thrill of exploring the local nightlife with my friends. It felt like stepping into a new chapter of my life, a small but significant rite of passage. One evening, toward the end of summer, my friends and I decided to visit a bar I'd never been to before. The place was alive with energy, music vibrating through the room, the hum of conversation filling the air, and the warmth of a summer night making everything feel magical. It was the kind of night that had a sense of possibility hanging in the air. And then I saw her. She was breathtaking, not just in the way she looked, though she was stunning, but in her presence. Her smile lit up the room, and the way she carried herself was captivating. I couldn't help but strike up a conversation. We connected instantly, talking and laughing as though we'd known each other forever. In those moments, the rest of the bar faded away. Unfortunately, our time was cut short. She had to leave. Before she did, though, she gave me her number and Snapchat. I learned that she was 24, working full-time near the area where I grew up. The slight age difference didn't bother me. In fact, it made her even more intriguing. The next day, I couldn't get her out of my mind. Gathering my courage, I sent her a text and asked if she'd like to go on a date before I had to leave for school. To my relief and excitement, she said yes. That weekend, I picked her up, and we spent the evening together. We had dinner, walked around town, and talked for hours. Everything about the night felt effortless, as if we were perfectly in sync. By the end of the date, I knew this was more than just a fleeting connection. I genuinely liked her. When I dropped her off, she invited me in. My heart raced as I accepted, doing my best to play it cool. At her place, we chatted, shared a drink, and put on a movie. The night unfolded with a natural ease that made me feel like we'd known each other forever. We grew closer, and for a moment, the world outside seemed to pause. She was the one who reminded me where the line was, gently setting a boundary that I respected without hesitation. It wasn't about the moment itself. It was about the way we communicated, the way we connected. It made me like her even more. After that, we kept in touch, texting regularly. Each conversation deepened my admiration for her. But as much as I wanted to see her again, life had other plans. My return to school was looming, and the timing just didn't work out. Before I knew it, I was back on campus, thousands of miles away, with only memories of that summer to keep me company. Even now, I think about her, wondering what might have been if circumstances had been different. It was one of those rare, beautiful encounters that stays with you, like a snapshot of summer frozen in time. It wasn't just a moment. It was a feeling, a spark that left its mark. And though I don't know what the future holds, I'll always remember her and that perfect, fleeting connection. Here's a revised version of your story with an emphasis on emotional depth and sensitivity, while respecting all perspectives. Once I was back at school, the distance between us didn't seem to matter. Our connection grew stronger with each passing day, as we fell into a routine of texting constantly. At first, our conversations were playful and lighthearted, filled with jokes, shared memes, and flirty banter. But as time went on, our bond deepened. We began to open up about our lives, our dreams, the challenges we'd faced, and what we admired about each other. It felt like something rare and beautiful was unfolding, even from miles apart. We'd FaceTime late into the night, sometimes losing track of time as we shared stories and laughed about the quirks of life. There was an undeniable sense of closeness between us, a growing feeling that this could be more than just a summer fling. It felt special, almost too good to be true. As Christmas break approached, my excitement about seeing her again was almost unbearable. I couldn't wait to be back home and finally spend time together in person. During one of our calls, I mentioned the exact day I'd be flying back. To my surprise, her usual cheerful demeanor shifted. She grew quiet, almost hesitant, and I could tell something was on her mind. I asked if everything was okay, and she assured me it was, but the hesitation lingered. A few days later, she sent me a text saying there was something important she needed to tell me. She admitted it was hard to say in person, so she preferred to explain over text. My heart pounded as I read her words, unsure of what to expect. She began by apologizing, saying how much she valued our connection and how she appreciated the way we'd grown close. Then she shared something deeply personal. She was transgender. She explained that she had transitioned years ago and hadn't shared this part of her story with many people. She trusted me enough to tell me now, and she hoped I could understand. In that moment I was stunned, not in a judgmental way, but because it was something I hadn't anticipated. My mind raced with questions and emotions. I admired her bravery and honesty. It couldn't have been easy to share something so personal. At the same time, I felt a rush of uncertainty, wondering how to navigate this new aspect of our relationship. She was incredibly patient with me, answering my questions and allowing me the time I needed to process everything. I still saw her as the same person I'd come to care about, smart, confident, and beautiful, but I was also overwhelmed by the weight of what she'd shared. In the days that followed, we continued to talk, though the rhythm of our conversations changed. They were less frequent, but no less heartfelt. She gave me space to think, and I appreciated her understanding. I knew this was uncharted territory for me, and I wanted to approach it with care and thoughtfulness. As the day of my return home drew closer, I was filled with a mix of emotions: curiosity, apprehension, and a hopeful longing to see where this could go. I didn't have all the answers, but I knew one thing for sure. The connection we'd built over the past months mattered. It wasn't something I could easily let go of, even in the face of uncertainty. By the time my plane touched down back home, I was ready to see her again, ready to continue this journey, wherever it might lead us. Here's a longer and more emotional version of your story, emphasizing the depth of your connection and the significance of the experience. When I got back home, I sent her a text letting her know I was in town. Her response came quickly: an invitation to meet for drinks at a bar near her apartment. I didn't hesitate to say yes, eager to see her again after months of only virtual connection. When I arrived, my breath caught for a moment. She was radiant, dressed in a sleek, fitted dress that seemed to amplify her confidence. Her energy was magnetic, and I couldn't help but admire how effortlessly she seemed to light up the room. As we settled in, the conversation flowed as easily as it had over the summer. We laughed, reminisced, and shared stories, and with each moment, I felt myself falling for her all over again. After a few drinks, she asked if I wanted to come back to her place, and I didn't think twice before agreeing. Her apartment was cozy and inviting, reflecting her personality in all the little details. We continued talking, the intimacy of the space making everything feel more personal. Eventually, the laughter softened, and we found ourselves leaning in closer until we were kissing. As things grew more tender, she paused and looked into my eyes, her expression serious yet vulnerable. She asked me if I was truly okay with the fact that she was trans. I didn't have to think about my answer. I told her I was, that it didn't change how I felt about her or the connection we shared. Her face lit up with relief and a hint of emotion, and we continued, the bond between us deepening in ways I hadn't experienced before. A little while later, she excused herself for a moment. When she returned, she took my breath away again. There was something about the way she carried herself, the mixture of confidence and vulnerability, that made the moment feel surreal. It wasn't just about physical attraction. It was about trust, openness, and the courage she had to share her authentic self with me. That night became a deeply personal and transformative experience, one that challenged my understanding of what connection and intimacy could mean. It was uncharted territory for me, but her patience and the trust we'd built made it feel natural, even inevitable. Since that night, we've hardly been apart. I've been staying over at her place most nights, and we've grown closer than I ever imagined. She's introduced me to new parts of myself, things I never thought to explore or question, and every day with her feels like a revelation. She's shown me what it means to truly be vulnerable and present with someone, and in doing so, she's helped me grow in ways I didn't expect. But now, with school starting back up in 2 weeks, I find myself standing at a crossroads. The thought of leaving her and returning to the other side of the country fills me with uncertainty. I don't know how to navigate the distance or what the future holds for us. All I know is that this relationship has been one of the most meaningful and transformative experiences of my life. She's changed the way I see the world and myself, and for that, I'm endlessly grateful.